So in this video, this is going to be a little bit of an expansion in regards to the video I put out yesterday, the impromptu one. Couple topics I went over there is how to avoid old school methods of funding your business that just don't work as good anymore. Another topic I'm going to be covering is avoiding common business credit pitfalls that will only lessen your chances of getting funding that your business needs. So I'm going to start with those two for tonight. I don't know how many people are going to be in the Zoom or in the live training here, but those are going to be the main topics I'm going to be talking about. And I think I'm going to stretch out the other four for later on. That way we have further content here for the group. Okay, so to start us off, how to avoid old school methods of funding. Now, whenever, let's say 20 years ago, the majority, or even 5 years ago, or hell, even a couple of years ago, right? The majority of people, whenever they're trying to start up their business, they go out there, get their LLC, they get their C Corp, single prop, S Corp, etc. They get their business entity. Now, for those of you that are in the group, a couple of steps you have to take when you're building up to that point, okay? Because there are prerequisites you have to follow through. For the people that come into the group, we have people entering daily. Wouldn't say a majority, but definitely there are folks coming into the group where they are working on their first business. They had just started it. They're in preparation of starting their first business. Well, whenever you're moving along those lines, some of those prerequisites are as follows. Number one is you have to get your business entity in the first place. You can't, in this case, you absolutely cannot do horse before cart. Because if you're trying to build out your business credit, you do that by leveraging your EIN number, which is issued to you by the IRS. Your EIN number, of course, is just like your Social Security number. However, it's attached to your business and not to you personally. That's why in a couple of videos I've mentioned it's so essential for you to begin, once you have this stuff established, to begin separating your assets, i.e. your vehicles. If you can put a vehicle underneath the business rather than yourself, there's a lot of benefits to it. Number one, at least in my opinion, the number one benefit is a term called DTI, debt to income. So if you're trying to go out and you're getting a loan or another automobile or a home purchase, whatever have be it, the bank is always going to look at how much money you make versus how much money you spend. And if you have an automobile, a vehicle of any sort, underneath your personal credit, and let's say you're trying to buy a vehicle for your spouse or for your kids, my daughter's not even a year and a half old, so I don't have to worry about that for a while, thank God. But whenever you're going out and getting those purchases, they're looking at your DTI, your debt to income ratio. And whatever is under your personal, right, that's going to reflect on that. Now, if instead of financing something underneath your personal credit, you're able to finance it through the business. Now, a couple things, I actually wanted to make a full-on training about this particularly. My background is automotive. I sold cars for a number of years. I was in finance. I was a finance director for an automotive dealer, a large dealer at that. So, all my vehicles purchased underneath the business. A couple of big banks that work specifically with business loans. Best example absolutely is Ally Bank, Ford Motor Credit, Mercedes, Tesla. I know someone that's in the group that he got a Tesla through his business without even a personal guarantee, which is incredible. My truck is through Ford Motor Credit. It's a Ford F-250 Platinum. That is through the business, through Ford Motor Credit, without a PG. Now, at times, what you're going to find is if you're going to go out and get a vehicle underneath the business for the very first time, even if your business credit is really well-versed, it's well-established, you might run into a situation where you might not get the best of interest rates. And sometimes you have to bite the bullet a little bit the very first time. Now, as you start doing this over and over, like I know a number of people, they leverage their business credit to get vehicles kind of en masse to then put them on Turo, basically renting platforms. Turo is one. That's the biggest one. I know of a couple of other. I know there are more of them out there. I just don't know them by name. So going back to it though, That is another benefit why you want to set up your business credit, is so you can take those assets, put them underneath the business rather than yourself. Okay. Now, a couple of old school methods that a lot of people are very versed towards is getting business credit for would be your traditional business loans. So they're, like I mentioned in the video yesterday, there are benefits and disadvantages to getting a business loan. Number one is if you're first starting out, you don't have a lot of business credit established, especially for how old your business is versus how much revenue you generate through the business. You might come into a lot of, I guess, roadblocks, if you would say, a lot of problems when you're trying to get a business loan, the traditional method. Now, if you're trying to get an equipment loan, and let's say if you're in the trucking industry and you want to get equipment loan to buy another truck and trailer, that might be a different story. Going back to more old school techniques is you go out and you self-fund. Self-funding can be really, in my opinion, is the most stressful thing you can do on the face of the earth, is trying to float your business and building it out or growing it by leveraging all of your own capital that you have generated over time, right? Your 401k, your savings. I've known of people getting a second mortgage on their home to float their business or to start it up. That's all stressful stuff, right? Because not only are you putting everything you have on the line, where worst case scenario, something happens to the business, it doesn't go as successful as you were hoping, you're going to run into a situation where you run out of money. Let's just be honest. So that is an old school technique that some people go through. Some people fail, some people succeed. Those that do exceed, they keep pushing through. They have a good business model. They start generating good amounts of income, et cetera, et cetera. So they're able to float through. Some people that self-fund also, though, they run into a stop point where like, shit, I'm out of money. I don't know what to do next, right? And now their business that they want to do full time, unfortunately, has to start going as a side hustle or another stream of income that they have to work through. Another method that some people can go through as well is they get an investor. An investor, like I mentioned yesterday, a good example of that is like Shark Tank, right? You go on there, you find someone to invest their own money into the business. In exchange, they get a percentage of ownership of your business, right? Now, they might mentor you because, of course, they want a return on their money, or they want their money back, period. But ultimately, they want a return on their cash. They're probably going to mentor you. They're going to help you out. And that's a huge benefit, though, if you go out and find an investor that will actually, other than just giving you a check, will actually help you grow, will help you progress. So if you're going to go that route, I only would recommend it if you're finding an investor that is open and willing to have as much skin in the game per se as you do. But at the end of the day, they're giving you money. You're going to pay them back. And even after that, most of the time, they're still going to own a percentage of your business. That was their buy-in. So most of the time, even after that, you're still going to be cutting checks to them long after they've been paid off. The other method, which I'm a huge fan of, stuff like business credit, right? Business credit and leveraging that to get business credit cards. Now, these are just some of my cards. I pretty much use those on a very regular basis. For example, my Amex Gold card, I use that one for all my Facebook advertisements, right? Why? Because there's more money back using a Amex Gold card on Facebook ads, advertisement spend, it says in there's a benefit, than just about any other card that's on the market. Now, the other day, I got an Amex Platinum card. I'm going to show you guys that when it comes in. I'm super stoked for it. I'll use it. It's a huge point generator, and plus I get to go into the like the Amex lounges at airplane or airports, which I'm stoked about. So those are a couple of the majority ways that you can fund your business. Those are the old school ways. The one that I'm a big fan of, though, is leveraging business credit cards to scale and fund your business. Now, why is it that I'm a big fan of those? Is the biggest and foremost is there are hundreds and hundreds of cards all banks, institutions, credit unions, etc. Well, they'll offer you business credit cards that have a 0% introductory rate. Now, 0% introductory rate is exactly how it sounds. It's free money. Now, it's for a limited period of time, but then you can go on the back end. You can get 0% transfer or balance transfer cards, and you can keep floating that balance over and over and over until it's paid off, all at 0%. We have methods that we use in our alumni group where we show people how to go along that process to have 0% on their business credit cards for up to 3 years. At that period of time, as long as you're using the money that you can spend from those business credit cards into vehicles and assets that are giving you a return more than what you're spending, you're always going to be in the clear. So who is somebody that would be a good benefit for? Number one, of course, is business owners. Whether if you're first starting out, and a lot of people think, oh, I have a brand new business, how can I go ahead and get the money, or how can I go out and get those cards even though I have a new business? Well, on business credit cards, the buy-in, if that makes sense, the qualifications are a lot more lenient on those than if you were to go out and get a business loan. So that's number one. Number two is you can keep transfer balancing it into more 0%. Number three, and a huge part, is you can get a multitude of these 0% business credit cards to create an overall large balance. So one more time, who is it for? For new businesses, for people that are in, real estate investing. So have you ever heard of the term hard money, right? That's going out, getting a loan primarily to cover your down payment. To my understanding, I'm not in real estate investing, so don't quote me on this, but my comprehension of hard money, and if I'm wrong, message me, correct me, because I would love to know the exact methodology behind hard money. But it's going out, getting a loan to then go back to the bank and say, hey, I have this much. Now can I go and purchase this said property? That would be for fix and flip, for an investment property, etc. And then you pay off everything else. So like if you go out and you get an investment property, then you get it rented, and you go get it appraised after, let's say you put some money into it, increase the value, get it reappraised after you have a tenant in it, get a certain percentage back from the bank from a refinance. Then you can pay off your hard money loan, and any other money you can pay yourself out of that, etc. So those are some more benefits. I was thinking about this earlier today. The cryptocurrency has been kind of blowing up lately. There's a lot of people investing into that, and you might have done research after research after research after research, but you might not have the capital available to invest into the stock market, different vehicles, things of that nature. But if you go out and get 0% credit, you can leverage that cash flow into investments to make a positive return to then pay it off. And guess what? You then get to keep the difference, right? So these are just some simple things, some obvious answers, if you would, why business credit is so beneficial, and then why 0% business credit can be so beneficial. Now, avoiding common mistakes and common business credit pitfalls that ultimately simply work against you. Number one is having not the best personal credit. Now, this is either if you're trying to get 0% business credit, or if you're trying to get business loans, again, automotive or vehicles, real estate, etc. If you don't have the best of personal credit, that's only going to hinder you, right? Once again, cart before horse. If you're trying to build out business credit, now that is one great thing about business credit, is you can still get approved for a lot of things without a personal guarantee, with no PG. So you could, in theory, have not the best or even bad personal credit, and then as long as your business credit is dialed in, there's still a lot of capital, there's a lot of money that you can lend from. So going back to, though, if you have solid or good personal credit, that's only going to help you in the long run. Another pitfall is trying to do too much too fast. What I mean by that is you're just starting out with business credit, right? You only have your business entity, but you do not have, say, a 411 listing. If you don't have a business address. Now, the reason why I'm a big stickler for business address is banks look at if they're going to try to lend you something or approve you for a loan or for a credit card, etc., they're going to look at how valid and legitimate your business is. And if you go to apply and they pull your information and it clearly states that your business address is a residential, as in you claim your business address is your home address, that goes to show to the furnishers, to the bank, whatever, that, okay, they're not super well set up because they don't actually have a business location. Now, that does not mean you have to go out and you got to go buy an office space or you got to go buy a building or whatever have you. It could simply be you go out and you get a virtual address. It is the most cheapest, easiest thing you can do. Now, once you have your business address, you got to go through, you got to make the amendments to have that reporting all across the board with the IRS, the Secretary of State, and so on. So that way, when they do pull your information, it's all saying the same thing. You got to have your website, you got to have your business email. It can't be, Colin Papineau, as an example myself, colinpapineau@gmail.com. I can't use that email for a business inquiry, for business loans, business credit, etc., because again, it doesn't show that I'm professional yet. So I would want to go out, just like I have, colin@businesscreditacademy.com. That is a professional email. And you get that just off G Suite. There's a couple other sources, actually tons of sources, to be honest, that you can go out and get a professional business email address. So it's always the little stuff that you got to work through. Something else is, okay, let's say you're just starting out, you have those things already handled, and then you want to jump right in and start applying for a business loan, right? Well, you haven't established your business credit yet, as an example. You don't have tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, even tier 4 cards, because on business credit, it's a tier system. A good example of a tier 1 card would be like 76 gas card, right? Someone in the group the other day asked, I think it was yesterday, in fact, asked, hey, what business credit cards or gas cards can I get that do not have a personal guarantee? And I put into the group, is atob.com. They're a gas card that don't require a personal guarantee. It just runs off the EIN. I like that because once again, the more stuff I can keep off my personal credit, I like the better, right? I can have $400,000 of available capital in lending, which I do, but it's all under the business rather than being under myself personally. So that way, whenever I'm like right now, I'm in the process of buying a house. We're moving to Austin, Texas. And if I had my pickup truck, all of the, the credit card balances I do have that's open for the business, things of that nature, they'd look at it and be like, okay, you have debt, right? Which would work against me. But since it's under the business, none of that reflects. I spend $20,000+ on Facebook ads per month, again, through the Amex Platinum card. That doesn't show up on my personal report whatsoever. So you got to take the baby, you got to crawl before you can run. That's some of the stuff I'm talking about.